Two characters that were able to share something with each other. Erryk and Arryk.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Your transitions today are
You're on fire, man.
Thanks. That was a bummer for those guys. You know, you could say, you could make a devil's advocate argument, let's just say if you were criticizing the show, that was like two red shirts killing one another. Red shirts being like a term of like
kind of agree.
Disposable characters who you'll find in like a Star Trek or whatever that just get blown up and then they have to come get them.
Yeah.
So I was not like deeply moved by it beyond the oft-used adage about civil wars being brother versus brother.
Right.
And if this tears apart these two guys who literally think of themselves as like two bodies with one soul, what's gonna happen to the rest of this?
Real acolyte vibes there, by the way.
But is that how you and Andy talk about each other?
Yeah.
Two bodies, one soul?
No.
Okay.
You potted us!
But what did you think of that scene? Because it was obviously presented as like the set piece of the episode.
I was a little underwhelmed. It was well done, and I think they did a lot of work in this episode and the one before to get us to try to care about Erryk and Arryk.
So just
Masaria's, when last we met, there were two of you. Reminder last week for everyone.
Yeah,
and like twin,
Right.
there's a twin. You have a twin. Your brother. We got a lot of like dropped mentions leading up to this. We met them briefly last season. I think if they really wanted us to care about this, Erryk and Arryk should have been characters all last season.
Right.
And something that I'm observing, like we won't talk about
But they ultimately couldn't have been because of the time jumps, right?
True, but
this was part of ultimately still the
gotten
structural challenge of season one that they are going to be chipping away against for a while.
It's just tough because Fire and Blood, a lot of these things are just sort of three sentences, you know?
Yeah.
And so what do they flesh out and what do they not? What I will say, you're right about the time jump. What I will say, without getting to specifics because that's getting into spoilers, we can already see them doing so much forward thinking in terms of when they're introducing characters, how much emphasis they're putting on certain people to build up our emotional attachment to people who will be taken away from us. Like they didn't, I think, do a great job with maybe Baby Jaehaerys, who we met in like kind of one scene.
Get not a lot of speaking from
or the Cargyll twins, who we could never really tell apart. Even though that's a plot point, obviously. So yes,
there was a moment where I thought that this scene could go like really crazy De Palma, where the guy who was sent to kill Rhaenyra,
that is kills the wrong twin.
Well, he kills the twin, but pretends basically like he killed the intruder. And is like, I'm just gonna take my brother.
Okay.
And he almost does.
I guess maybe now I'm realizing this is a hot take in real time. That's why I thought this ruled. I was not prepared to care about this, honestly, for all the reasons Joe is identifying. Like, I think the Cargyll twins have been here, and they've been present, and we have acknowledged them and made a lot of jokes about how their names are Arryk and Arryk, and we were, I think it is fair to say, quite perplexed by the volume of the penultimate episode of season one that was devoted to them chasing through the city to try to find Aegon before Kristen and his dumb hat and Aemond and his best Daemon-esque cloak. So that prior limitation and weakness. Wait, we're watching season 1, episode 9, and we literally can't tell who they are because we hadn't spent time with them. We don't know who they are. They have done nothing to try to give us any ability other than the piping on a cloak to tell them apart. The bug became a feature here, right? It became not only in terms of the plot, right? And the line from Fire and Blood, and Sir Erryk and his brother Sir Erryk were twins, identical in all respects. Not even their fellows of the Kingsguard could tell the two apart. So Sir Laurent charges into the room and he's like, which?
Yeah.
Which is Erryk? No one can tell, including us. And so we're watching it, and the action is interesting and fun and compelling.
You can track them.
You have to, when you're prepping for a podcast, but when you're watching it in real time, Chris, to your point.
I did not know.
You have a moment when the fight concludes and you're like, is Rhaenyra about to die?
Well, not because you don't know die, but I was like, that would be sick if this dude was like, no, I'm the
But wasn't the way it ended also kind of surprisingly thrilling? Again, I wore my Clegane Bowl shirt today to honor Cargyll Bowl, which I was not prepared to give a shit about. But I was like, when Erryk stumbles forward, having killed his twin, his brother, all of the thematic, symbolic resonance for, killing the mirror of you, the other part of you, the family torn apart from within, the Civil War comps that you noted. And he stumbles forward for that moment. We don't know what's gonna happen. And then when he says, your grace, Okay, Erryk wouldn't do that. So it's Erryk, right?
Unless,
and then you're like, what if it's a plot? Will someone ask him a question? Did you come to to the funeral that became a coronation?
I was
and
just
say,
like,
I swear
you could
to
just
Lord, the
step
Queen.
in and take his job, like Dave. You know, like you could just get like Dave, like the Kevin Kline
I love
movie,
that.
like just get promoted.
And
I
then
love
he
that
says,
version.
forgive me, and impales himself
Yeah,
because I think in two things. The shame.
Yeah.
The shame that this happened. I do think much like they should all stop
grief
naming their
because of
kids Aegon,
brother.
change up the armor for one side.
Right.
The shame that this happened, that he put his queen, who he has sworn to protect, in harm's way. The guilt and turmoil over what he has been forced to do to his brother. But also, I think to your point of like, could there have been they'll never trust me.
Right.
They'll never know. It's done. It's a wrap. He could never move forward in his life again, unless again they were like, what happened like this morning? Literally.
I'm glad this worked so well for
I thought
Mallory.
I liked the scene, which I again did not really
work as well for me.
think I would.
What did get me though is that happens in a random hallway in the book. The fact that it happens in Rhaenyra's chamber and we get Rhaenyra's reaction, that did get to me.
Sure.
And then
Emma's
it's
like
shock, the comp
and
to Blood and
horror.
Cheese. It's like they've both had this breach to that extent, the intimacy of your own
Yes.
bed chamber. How could you feel safe after that?
Probably not. And she'll probably behave accordingly.